Hi everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're diving into Intel's latest proxy statement. It's a hefty document, but don't worry, we'll decode the important stuff. Get ready for some numbers, a new CEO, and a shareholder proposal that wants Intel to consider its ethical footprint. Trust me, by the end you'll have a clear picture of where Intel stands. It has all the ingredients for some drama in the boardroom. First off, there's a letter from the board chair acknowledging Intel's current challenges. They admit that Intel's performance hasn't been up to par, but they're working hard to fix things. Key areas of focus include AI PC market dominance and enhancing process technology. They're also emphasizing customer satisfaction, saying when their customers win, Intel wins too. A big piece of news is the appointment of Lip-Bu Tan as the new CEO. The board seems excited about this, highlighting his technical expertise and track record of creating value. He previously served on Intel's board from 2022 to 2024, so he's not a complete outsider. They also thank the interim co-CEOs, Michelle Johnston Holthouse and Dave Zinsner, for their leadership during the transition. The board expects Lip-Bu to honestly assess and improve Intel's profitability. Now let's get into the items up for a vote at the annual meeting. First, there's the election of 11 directors. The board is recommending that you vote for each of their nominees. They emphasize that the board is highly qualified, engaged, and independent. This part highlights Intel's commitment to good governance, like annual director elections, proxy access, and stockholder engagement. They're also touting a strong independent leadership structure with an independent board chair and regular executive sessions. Basically, they're saying they're doing all the right things to be accountable to their shareholders. Let's meet those folks up for election. You can see a quick rundown of each nominee's age, committee assignments, and key skills. For example, James Gitz brings venture capital experience, while Andrea Goldsmith has expertise in wireless communications. We have Eric Maurice with semiconductor industry experience and Barbara Novick with investment and finance background. The list goes on, highlighting a diverse range of expertise. The board wants you to see they have the right people. This section touches on something interesting: how many other boards these directors are serving on. There are guidelines about this, and a note that despite the limit, Steve Sanghi, Lip-Bu Tan and Stacey J. Smith were given time to meet the requirement to limit other boards. The board evaluated each, waiving certain requirements to onboard all of them at once, given the industry expertise they bring. Time to take a look inside at how the board operates. There are several standing committees such as the Audit and Finance Committee, the Talent and Compensation Committee, and the Corporate Governance and Nominating Committee. There were also ad hoc special committees created to deal with special circumstances. It outlines what each committee is responsible for, with some highlights from the Audit and Compensation Committees. Here, Intel emphasizes their commitment to listening to stockholders. They describe their engagement cycle, which involves everything from reviewing annual meeting results to holding in-depth discussions and incorporating feedback. It talks about outreach meetings and the number of people that had directors engage with. This seems like it could be a real and open dialogue. How much do these directors get paid? This section breaks down director compensation, including retainers and equity awards. There are also details on stock ownership guidelines, which are 5 times the annual cash retainer. There's even an option for directors to take their payment in stock. Now onto the audit stuff. The fees paid to Ernst & Young, aka Y, for audit services are broken down, with the company paying approximately $26 million. That's a lot. Now let's look at the execs. We see what their base pay is, and more importantly, how they're compensated. It's all there as we move towards financial tables, which show where some tough decisions had to be made. Here's the summary compensation table. The important thing to notice is the stock awards and the non-equity incentive plan compensation columns. You can see that for Michelle Johnston Holthouse, that would have a stock award of approximately $11 million and a bit over $500,000 for non-equity incentive plan compensation, at a bit over $500,000 for non-equity incentive plan compensation. At a bit over $500,000 for non-equity incentive plan compensation, at a bit over $500,000, $10 million. With non-equity incentive plan compensation at a bit over $500,000 for non-equity incentive plan compensation at a bit over $500,000. The table of share ownership tells you who owns the most shares. The Vanguard Group owns 8.85% and BlackRock owns 7.82%. It also shows the stock numbers held by the board, which is in general a reasonable number. Next, we have a vote on ratifying the selection of Ernst & Young as Intel's independent auditor. The board is recommending you vote for this. They note I's independence, objectivity, and experience. Finally, there are 3 stockholder proposals, and the board recommends voting all against each of them. These cover ethical impact assessments, charitable giving reports, and shareholder rights to act by written consent. Now let's dive into these proposals a bit more. Stockholder Proposal 5 asks for a report on an ethical impact assessment, specifically focusing on Intel's operations in Israel. The board recommends voting against this. Intel argues that they already have robust human rights principles and reporting mechanisms in place. They also state that divesting from Israel would cause significant harm to the company and stockholders. Stockholder Proposal 6 requests a report on charitable giving. Again, the board recommends voting against. Intel says they already provide extensive reporting on their charitable giving and that they have processes in place to ensure ethical and strategic alignment. Stockholder Proposal 7 asks for a shareholder right to act by written consent. Once again, the board recommends voting against. They argue that current practices, like the ability to call special meetings and proxy access, already promote stockholder democracy. They also point out that written consent could lead to unfair and secretive processes. So what's the overall picture? Intel is in a major transition, and this proxy statement reflects that. There are leadership changes, strategic shifts, and a focus on regaining lost ground. Let's break down what I saw in this report. The appointment of Lip Butan signals a renewed focus on execution and shareholder value. It also provides the board the industry expertise that it was lacking for the past few years. And the company is acknowledging its shortcomings and actively seeking to improve. The board seems committed to incorporating shareholder feedback, but that said, there is not much that they are changing. It seems that they are patting themselves on the back with all the proposals being recommended against. For the auditors, the approximately $26 million payment to I is standard for a large, complex company. It's a critical expense for regulatory compliance and financial oversight. It is expected and not a warning sign. While the board highlights robust reporting on things like charitable donations, there's arguably room for greater transparency, particularly on ethical matters. On the stockholder engagement, for once it sounds like a real ongoing dialogue, although the board doesn't necessarily change their plans in response to that feedback. Overall, Intel is at a crossroads. With any big transition, there's a risk of things going sideways. With that said, they are in a strong enough position with a new CEO and plan to go ahead. Execution is now key. Thanks for watching, and if you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what other corporate documents you want me to decode. Until next time.